and today we shall study about verb forms. There are two types of verb forms, regular and irregular. Now let us learn what is the verb. Notice what I am doing. Yes, I am winking. Now next, see what I am doing. Yes, I am snapping. Next, I am writing, walking, running. These are all action words. Action words and doing words are called verbs. Now, verbs are probably the most important part of speech in the English language. Why it is so important? It is so important because no sentence is used without a verb. That means in every sentence there is a verb. Now let us see the definition of a verb. A verb is a word or a phrase that can show a state. That means a person or thing that is showing that he is. Like example, I can say Reena is my friend. So is becomes state. It is a verb. Then it is a condition. It is an emotion. Means what a person feels. What are his emotions? What he feels. Example, she feels feverish. So feels is emotion. It is a verb. State, condition, emotion. These all are static verbs. It shows how the person is and feels. So these are static verbs. Example, Reena is my friend. She feels feverish. She is sick. So is, feels and sick are all verbs. Now let us see what are the other type of verbs. Verbs also show possession. It shows what a person or thing has. It also shows about thought. It shows what a person thinks. These two are static verbs. For example, Reena thinks she has dengue fever. Thinks shows possession and has shows things. So it is a verb. As I told you, anything is a doing word, is an action. Action means also it is called a dynamic verb. For example, Reena goes to the doctor. So goes is a dynamic verb. Now for example, I have written the sun rises in the east. See this picture over here. The sun rises. It is showing some action. It is a dynamic verb. The sun rises. So rises is a verb. So this is the definition of verb. Now let us see the types of verbs. There are four forms of verbs. The first form of verb is the base verb. The base verb is also called as the infinitive. I have written here as an V1. Means example go. Let us see the second form of the verb. The second form of the verb is the past simple. We have written as V2. For example, went. The third form of verb is the past participle. I have written as V3. For example, gone. And the last form of verb, the fourth form of verb is the present participle. That is V1 plus ing. We use the base plus ing. Like going. So these are the four form of verbs. The base, which is also called the infinitive. The past simple, went, like he went to school. The past participle, gone, and present participle, going. These are the four form of verbs. Now let us see what are the two type of verbs. The two type of verbs are the regular, also called as the weak verbs, and the second is the irregular, also called as the strong verbs. Now let us see what is a regular verb. A verb that forms their past tense by adding ed, by adding d, or by adding a y in the past simple and past participle. We also see that there is no change in the inside of the vowel. Now let us see the 6 rules of the ed forms. Now the verbs that form their past tense by adding an ed in we see in the one syllable we have the first rule, that is by verbs that form the past tense by adding an ed. For example, walk is the base form, past simple becomes walked. He had walked, or he walks every day. He had walked yesterday. Past simple is also walked. We can also have the present participle, that is walking, but we use only till the past participle. Now let us see the second rule. The second rule, when the verb ends with an E and adds an D, we use this. For example, live, E changes to D. We have to add a D to it. So it becomes lived. And participle also becomes lived. Let us see the third rule. This is an exception because it is also an irregular verb. But we say here spent becomes spent and we add a T. Here also becomes spent. Now let us see the third rule. We add after a consonant which ends with a Y, we add an ed. So we see here example cry. We see a Y, before that we see a consonant. Immediately after a Y, we have to add an I plus ed. So Y changes to I plus ed, so it becomes cried. The past participle also is cried. So cry, cried, cried. Now let us see the fourth rule. Now we see that a vowel ends with a Y and we add an ed. For example, enjoy. We see Y, it precedes a vowel O and it becomes ed. So enjoy becomes enjoyed and enjoyed in the past simple and past participle. Now we see the fifth rule. We see that one vowel and one consonant becomes a double consonant plus we add an ed. So stopped. We see here there is a one vowel and one consonant, that is O and a P. It becomes double. The P becomes double. So and we have to add an ed. So stop becomes stopped and stopped in the past simple and past participle. Let us look at the last rule, that is the sixth rule. Here we have two vowels and one consonant, which also becomes to ed, but it doesn't double the consonant. Whenever there are two vowels and one consonant, we don't have to double the vowel or consonant. So need becomes needed, and past participle also is needed. We have to only add an ed, no doubling the consonant. This is all one syllable. Now let us see in the Idi form, if we see words in two syllables, what rules we have to use. So we have two rules for the two syllable in Idi form. We have verb which ends with a vowel. For example, I have visit. I stress on the first syllable, and the second syllables we do not stress. So any word which stress on the first syllable, we do not have to double it. So it becomes visited, and this past participle also becomes visited. Now what happens when we see a verb and the ending with the consonant? Yes, you have to double it. Like we see admit, the stress is on mit. Admit. We do not stress the first syllable, but when the second syllable is stressed, immediately double the consonant, becomes admitted, and past participle also becomes admitted. So always remember that verbs that form their past tense by adding an ed or d mostly. And these are the 6 rules you have to learn. Now let us see about irregular or strong verbs. What are irregular verbs? Verbs that form their past tense without adding an ending of ed. We do not have to add any of these ed, d or y or any of these rules to the irregular verbs. But we have to change the inside of the vowel of the present tense. Now here are 3 types of irregular verbs. The first type, all 3 forms are the same. We see the word cut, cut and cut are used in the base, past simple and past participle. Other words you have to learn and memorize are bet, burst, cost, hit, hurt, let, put, read, set, shut, split, spread. We see that regular verbs are used in the normal manner, but irregular verbs are not used in the normal manner. So you have to learn and memorize it. Now see the second type. 2 of the forms are same. Here we see 3 forms are same, but here we see 2 of the forms are same. That is bent, bent and bent. These 2 are same. Now in this we see that we shorten the vowel sound in past simple and past participle. So feed becomes, we shorten the vowel to 1. Here we have two E becomes one E. So because feed becomes fed, and past participle also is fed. Now the third time, when we see all three forms are different, like we see words like swim, swam, swum, these all are different. So these all are irregular verbs which you have to learn and memorize. Now there is an optional one. This is just for your knowledge that verbs are used alternatively in past participle form which are in adjective form ending in en. For example, we have verb prove, come past participle proved, and here come adjective past participle becomes proven. Melt, melted, and molten. Other verbs are sunken, drunken, and words ending in en are also are irregular verbs. So this is all about regular and irregular verbs. Thank you.